Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordeal. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. All right, welcome to the Week Change Gang. I have one of my favorite people joining me today. I'm so excited that he agreed to come on, and he is a teacher and mentor and friend to me, and I appreciate all that he's shared with me over the years. I have Joel Solomon here today. He's a prosperity coach who helps others overcome obstacles standing in the way of their financial freedom. Thank you for being here, Joel. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today.
Thank you. I was so excited. I can't believe, your mind just has to come at the right moment when it's right, because I've done this podcast for a little while and I've worked with you and been in some of your classes, and all of a sudden a little bell rang and said, Laura, why haven't you invited Joel on? He's like the epitome of what you talk about in terms of bringing kind of the practical and the woo or the magical together to make life happen in the way that you want. And you do that every day, all day. You've written books about it. You teach classes about it. You travel the world talking about it. So I would love for you to share a little bit, because you did really start on the practical end of things, how what I call woo or the universal energy or whatever you want to call it, how you kind of came to that, because you didn't really start in that. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your story, I'd be grateful.
Sure. And I'll just say that we are all spiritual beings in a human body. And you may not recognize it consciously, but it's there, it's happening. And so maybe I didn't recognize it consciously, and I was operating in many ways on a spiritual level despite that. So yes, I did start my career in what would say maybe the high finance. I worked at an insurance company as an actuary, programming and calculating future amount of money that different segments would make. It was very hands-on and practical, and I really disliked it. I spent my evenings and weekends analyzing and investing in stocks. That was my true passion back in the 90s. One day it hit me, if I could align my hobby and my career, it wouldn't be work. It would be fun. It would be play. And so I reached out to a number of actuaries around the country on Wall Street in different positions in and around money management. And I got a consistent message. Stay where you are. You can't do this. It's not easy. You don't have any experience. You don't have an MBA. Finally, there was one guy who told me his path. And I followed it with a lot of doubt. I will say right now that I teach #doubt the doubts. Have faith in your dreams. Don't have faith in your doubts. And most of those years along the way, I did have faith in my doubts. I didn't have faith in the dream. And so it took me 15 years. But I did achieve the dream of becoming a money manager in January of 2008. You may remember 2008 was not the best year in the stock market. I was given $300 million to manage, and they said go. And I tiptoed in and started investing slowly, and did actually make money in 2008 when the stock market was down 40%, and financial stocks, which were the only securities that I was invested in, were down 57%. So we managed to make a little bit of money that year. They gave me more money to manage each following year, and I made a lot more money the next year. I actually might still be doing that today, but there was a law that was passed in 2010, which went effective in 2012, which said banks can't own hedge funds. So we were all laid off, and which actually gave me the kick in the butt to start my own company. So I started my own hedge fund, which is actually the name of my prosperity coaching business, the same name, Sol Laura Moore, named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. And I went out and decided I was going to start my own company, and I reached out to many investors. And I got two that had orally agreed to give me money. And so I started out the process of creating a hedge fund, hiring a lawyer and accountant and auditor, prime broker, moved into prime real estate space on 54th and Madison Avenue. I felt like I'd arrived. And then I called up these two investors and they both backed out.
Oh, no.
I had no pipeline because I was counting on them. I had no money. I had cash flow, but it was cash outflow every day, week after week. And this was the end of December of 2012. And I teach this practice now. I didn't know I was doing it consciously at the time, but it's a practice called acting as if. Acting as if what you want to happen has already happened. And what I did was I hired the analyst that I was going to hire as if the money was about to come in any day. We had calls. I said, Sean, don't come into the office because I had to pay for each seat literally to the broker who was subletting my space and who I was subletting the space from. And I said to him, just stay at home till we get the money and then you can come in. So he was like one of the first people in the world to work WFH, working from home in 2013. And we had our call as if we had the money invested. Hey, Sean, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? We went to conferences as if we were invested in those companies, asking the tough questions of those CEOs and CFOs. And we did something even more crazy. I put together a spreadsheet of all the stocks we were betting were going to go up, all the stocks we were betting were going to go down. And we calculated every day how much money we made or lost. And I'd say, Sean, good day. We made $1 million today. Sean, oh, we got to rejigger the portfolio. You know, we lost almost $1 million today. You got to fix this. And we did that every day in January. Now, I didn't just do that. I did bang the phones. I called everyone I know and said, hey, you know, we're opening our hedge fund any day now. Would you like to invest? And on January 25th of 2013, we had a great meeting. And a month later, we had a written agreement from that company that they were going to invest. And then 3 months later, we had the money. And I will tell you to this day that I believe that the reason we got the money is because we acted as if we already had the money. That's a little bit of my finance career. In December 2015, I had an epiphany. And if you want, I can go into the story. What happened?
I want to backtrack for him because a couple things that you said are really key, I think, to some of the stuff that people don't credit enough sometimes. And you did say, okay, I wasn't actively realizing what I was doing in some of the things, even way back before you were acting as if. But doing some of the work that you did, you naturally, I think, are using some of your intuition, your, guiding the universe and your thoughts and bringing about the things that are there. We're all doing that. We just don't necessarily frame it that way. When someone says, I have a gut feeling, they're using their intuition. They're activating some of those things. And I love that you did that and that you had someone that did that with you, that acting as if that it's like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And then the universe caught up. We have to allow a little tiny bit of time in there. Sometimes it happens the next day, but sometimes it does take a little bit to get the people and everything navigated into the place. But if you continue in that thought process and that energy and that way of being, it shows up. And you saw that. So then you had an epiphany. You had an epiphany. And so what shifted for you in that epiphany? What was that like?
Well, so I believe you have many dreams throughout your life. And in my first book, Mindful Money Management, I talked about my dreams. And so like I talked about in 1993, if you had asked me what's my big dream, I would have said being a hedge fund manager, being a money manager, managing other people's money. And then in 2015, I went to this personal development course. And at that course, I realized my true dream was not that, but my true dream was helping others become financially free.
And was that just like, oh, that's what I want to do? Or were you speaking to someone about something? Or how did that kind of come in for you?
Well, two things happened at that course that changed my life. The first was we had a guest speaker speaking about stocks and stock options for 1 hour. it was a 3-day course, and he was a guest speaker for just 1 hour. And during that hour, he was lying to the 200 people in the room, telling them they don't need much time, they don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich. Options are essentially risk-free. And I was sick to my stomach. I literally had people tapping me on the shoulder, whisper in my ear, Joel, does this make sense? Are options really riskless? Because it was day 2 of the conference, they knew I was a money manager, and we had been having meals together the first 2 days, so they knew me. And so I said, let's go out of the auditorium after he's done, be polite. And we left the auditorium after he was done. I told him, please don't do this. He has no idea about any of you individually, and most importantly, no idea about your belief that you could become rich using options. See, out of the 200 people, a handful were likely to become rich using options, and yet more than 50 ran to the back of the room to sign up for his course. Why? Because he had elevated their belief temporarily to a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is absolute faith. So they believed temporarily that this is the way to become rich. Now that belief is going to come down in the days and weeks ahead.
That's
and only few of them.
That's a great point. And that's what happens a lot of times, is that belief does go up temporarily, and then unfortunately sometimes that disappointment follows through because it doesn't stay there. And
it's not right. And I say the way you become rich is doing something you love, something you're passionate about, something you're interested in. And if somebody convinces you in an hour that this is the way, maybe you are already, like I say, if you were already interested in options before you came to this 3-day course and somebody starts talking about it and you get excited, those are the 5 people that are going to become rich using options. The other 50, they got convinced, they got greedy, and that's not their true passion or interest. And so when they start taking the course, they're like, oh my God, there's so much information. I don't understand this. I'm really excited about it. And so they don't actually get the information and they don't get rich doing it. And there's 1,000 other ways to get rich, and they could be doing something they really enjoy doing, passionate about, on purpose, and that's how they'll become rich. So that was the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened at the course was we were given a wooden board 2 inches thick, and we were told we're going to break it with our bare hand. Have you done it, Laura?
I haven't. I've seen it.
So the exercise was called Obstacles Are Illusions. And on one side of the board, we had to write our biggest obstacle, and the other side, our ultimate goal, which stumped me for a while, and then it hit me. Make everyone in this room financial. And then I broke the board like everyone else did in the room. Went home that night, couldn't sleep. The board was staring back at me. Make everyone in this room financially free. And at 3:34 in the morning when I couldn't sleep, the guy was in my head. And I realized if I could ever get up the courage to speak on a stage, see, that day, my biggest fear in life was public speaking. If I could ever get up the courage to speak on a stage, I could be authentic, tell people the truth about money, and be of service.
That's so incredible. I love that. I love that you broke the board too. That's great. And then you hold on to that, and it's like, okay, now I know. And something you said was really important, because I think that when you do have something show up, like you were talking about the options, and if you went to that place where options was already kind of in the mix for you and it was something you're interested in, then you're one of the 5. And I think oftentimes when we do get excited about something, if we wait just a little bit and go, oh, okay, that's interesting, and we continue on our way and maybe investigate a little or do something. But if it continues to come back to us, that's when we step into something. But if it's just something that's there and it's like, no, because thankfully that happened recently to me and I came to you because somebody had approached me about something and I was like, oh, well, that sounds really easy. And yes, it was supposedly to make money and it was to do this. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. But before I went forward, I just had this, this little moment of, you should talk to Joel first. and so there was no way I was going to do anything until I spoke with you. We had a great conversation about it. You helped me see it in a little bit different perspective. And I realized that one of my first instincts going into that, I had kind of pushed aside, which was, this isn't for me. And I knew that, but I let them raise my belief in that moment, and then having someone to go to and talk to and bring you back to that place was a great thing too. And I truly appreciate that. And I think you're there for so many people in that way, in so many ways, which we'll talk about in a little while longer. But that is so incredible. And then is that when you kind of got involved, or I don't remember the steps of how you kind of got involved with some of the infinite possibilities and the magic that happens there and the magic that you share in your book. Some of the stories, they're incredible. You'll have to share one or two of them with us because they're so fun and they're so encouraging to know that this stuff actually happens. It's not just here's what can happen. It's like, no, this happened. So is that kind of where you started on the path to there?
So, yes, and let me just say to anyone who's watching, listening, that I give 30 minutes free to anyone, 30 minutes free of prosperity coaching, no obligation to do anything else. So if you want to jump on a call with me, you can head over to salamour.com, SALEURMO.com, and on the homepage, you can click on free consultation and get that 30 minutes free. So if you have any questions about money, manifestation, money mindset, investing in stocks or real estate or whatever you think about investing in, want to just bounce an idea off of me or get some insight on manifestation or mindset, some issues bothering you or exciting you, feel free to reach out. So yes, when I went to that personal development course, it wasn't obviously Infinite Possibilities course. And so to continue the story, I jumped out of bed. I quickly got dressed. I was at my office in Midtown Manhattan at 54th and 6th Avenue before the sun rose. I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I figured out my true purpose on it. And that purpose is to help anyone who's listening or watching become financially free.
And that's a big, big deal right there to that was the epitome of trust in
my intuition,
your mission and what you want to do. And you've lived in that. You have lived in that since then.
Yes. In fact, the 9 Money Rules Millionaires use my second book. Rule number 2 is trust your intuition. Rule number 1 is when you believe. So we've been talking about belief. We've been talking about intuition. And I think it's really important to, like Laura said, really tap into your intuition. How can you tap into it on a daily basis? So, I live in New York. I'm on the subway platform and there's a local train sitting there, but the express train is coming in 2 minutes. What do? Local, express, local. Trust your intuition. What is your gut telling you? So years ago, I used to take my daughters to school and we would have options. We could take the highway, we could take the local roads, or we could hitchhike. Just kidding. So now normally the normal route was to take the highway. There was one particular morning that I start towards the highway entrance and it's all backed up with traffic. And my intuition, my gut was saying, go anyway. And my intellect was, don't do that. Come on. You're never going to get them to school in time. So what did I do? I went with my intellect instead of my intuition. I go local roads and immediately my stomach's in knots because I hear the sirens. I see the flashing lights. And because I didn't trust my intuition, it cost me $150 speeding ticket.
Oh, no.
And to this day, my daughters call me Speedy Pants.
Oh, that's funny. One of the, you'll probably appreciate this a little bit, but one of the things that I do when I really want to just kind of be in the intuition and playing with it a little bit is I will, and somebody told me this exercise, and they said once you get to like over 80% where you're getting the right answer, that you'll pretty much stay at that. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. And I go test it every once in a while. But every day I will decide if the Dow or the S&P or something is up or down. And before I go look, I just take a minute. Is it up or down? And then I will track it like for a week or a month or something and see and kind of check my percentages. And it's been pretty good where once I did get it up above that 80 to 85% or something, I'm pretty good at doing that now where I stay in there if I do that. So
and then you can make investments based on your intuition. You could say, okay, if you're getting pretty good at that and you do it before the day starts, You can make an investment in S&P futures or Dow futures to see what it's going to do that day. But I have an even better or more interesting. You can do that for individual stocks. And what I do with my clients is I ask them to write down their level of intuition from 1 to 10 on any stock. Like we've done our analysis in this book. We have a 5-step stock screen. We have a 7-step real estate screen. So, and again, this is somebody who's interested in learning about stocks, not somebody who I said, you got to learn stocks. It's like, if you're interested, I'll teach you my process. So I've taught them my process. They're learning. They're planning on investing. So I asked them first, what's their belief level from 1 to 10, where 10 is absolute faith. I know I'm going to make a lot of money. 1 is massive doubt. There's no way I'm ever going to make money in this stock. And then what's your level of intuition? How does it feel? Like like some people will tell me, oh, that stock symbol, that's exciting. I wonder let's do the analysis on that one. They'll go that way. They'll find like an interesting name like LUV. LUV, love, is the stock symbol for Southwest Airlines. Oh, let's check that out. Let's see if that one isn't, and sometimes, different stock symbols resonate with my spiritual entrepreneur clients, and they'll, this one sounds really interesting. Can we, for whatever reason, it hits them. Let's do the analysis on this one because I feel like it's going to do well. Or recently I was working with a client and we were going through a list of stock symbols, and we got to the website and it had a picture of Aladdin. And wow, she's like, this is magical already, isn't it? Right? And then it was, I don't want to go into the comment, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, like, you see something like that and you get excited, or she's really into angel numbers. So if she sees like a stock price of $11.11, she's like, I gotta buy that. And I'm like, let's do the analysis and, get the process. She's like, no. Like, she gets really excited. Her belief level's a 10 before we even get into, do the analysis. So that's how you want to be. Like, your intuition is way up here, your belief level is way up here, and then you invest. Before I actually start working with clients, I'll ask them what is their belief level that they can double their money in the stock market or real estate or whatever they're interested in the next 1 to 2 years. Most people will say that's impossible. Then I have people who say, absolutely. I've done it before, I could do it again. Or I know you've done it, so you're going to help me do it. And those are the people who do it. The people who say, oh, that's impossible. There's no way you could ever double your money in the next 1 to 2 years. They're not ever going to do it because their belief level is a 0.
I have to ask you on this one because you have changed your belief system and you obviously work with people to change theirs. So I know because I know what you do now. You go speak in front of people all the time. You do online courses. You did a TEDx talk. You did all that. So you changed your own belief around public speaking. Just as a little tiny thing that was there for you. You've changed the belief around what's possible in money for people as well. How did you do that for you, and how do you do that for your clients? Maybe just a couple. You don't have to go into everything you do, obviously, but a couple things.
Yes, great question, Laura. So for example, I had one client a few years ago who came to me who wanted to learn about the stock market, but he was living in massive poverty consciousness. So he had not taken a vacation in 20 years. He was still wearing the same boots from 3 years earlier, wear the same boots every day for 3 straight years. And actions are a really good tell on if you're living in prosperity consciousness, abundance, or you're living in poverty consciousness. And so those actions told me quite clearly how he was living his life in scarcity and lack. He told me he would go take his family out for lunch and state, not here in New York, but in his state, you can get unlimited refills for your soda. So the minute when they were ready to leave, they brought their canteens and canisters and plastic. And so right before they were to leave, they asked the waiter to refill all their glasses. And so they put all their soda into the to-go things that they had, canteens that they had brought, so they could have enough soda for the week. And they made sure to go when there was buffet. So they were able to get all you can eat buffets to go. So they had enough for the next week. So is that living in prosperity? Do they believe that there's so much abundance out there that's available, and I can manifest sodas all the time, and I can manifest money all the time? So he was living in this state. So the first thing we did was work on changing those actions and pretending. So we talked about acting as if, but pretending is a really powerful technique. Rule number 4 in the 9 money rules millionaires use is, can visualization make you financially free? So visualization is a technique that I teach, and I taught him how to visualize what he wanted to happen has already happened. We did acting as if techniques. We used affirmations, and the one thing that's different about me that I teach and I taught him was to personalize his affirmations. Put your name in it, say it out loud, and then say things you believe. Again, back to rule number 1. Because if you're saying, I am financially free, and it's not true and you're nowhere near there, this is what's happening. You're creating resistance. Your ego is calling BS, and you're like saying it but not really believing it. So there's no flow, and you want everything to flow. So so he didn't say that. He didn't say, I am financially free. Now, you could say, I am financially free over and over again 1,000 times a day for the next 5 years, and your subconscious will eventually believe it, and at some point, that will be created for you. But I prefer you not to do this, right? I prefer flow rather than moving matter to create matter. Like, let's get into a state of appreciation and gratitude, rule number 5, and be grateful and appreciative for what you have now, and create affirmations that you believe in. So soon I'll be financially free, or I allow myself to become financially free. Some words to that effect. If you don't believe, like I do, I am a money magnet, I am an excellent money manager, if those things are not 9s or 8s or 10s for you, then soften them. Say, I allow myself to become an excellent money manager, or soon I will be an excellent money manager. So using affirmations, and if anybody wants to, we can create individualized affirmations on that free 30-minute call. We can do that. Visualizing, we go through the specific techniques of visualizing. There's the most successful business people, athletes, Navy SEALs are using visualization, right? They're using self-talk. I heard a story about one of the most amazing Olympic swimmers of all time. And he would, before every match, before every swim meet, he would visualize every stroke, every leg kick. He would close his eyes and picture the whole scenario. He even pictured if his goggles got filled up with water, how he would swim if that happened. And in an Olympic race, it actually did happen. He was halfway through, and you're not gonna do this because that takes too much time. So he swam the rest of the race as he had visualized it in his mind and won that race.
That's
with
incredible.
With his eyes closed, as he had visualized.
Well, I know they've actually done tests or whatever you want to call them, but they've done studies. That's what I was looking for, studies where when they do that with the athletes, their muscles actually are firing when they're in that visualization process. They're firing in the way that they would be if they were doing the thing.
Actual activity, yeah. Yeah, there is a study, the California study of the basketball players, and they took 2 separate groups of basketball players, and the first group, they had them actually shoot free throws for 5 minutes for 30 days. The other group, they had sit down and visualize shooting free throws for 5 minutes. They visualized for 5 minutes for 30 days. And they put the 2 groups back together so they were equal. The groups on average were equal in the percentages that they were shooting free throws before the 30 days. They came back, had both groups again shoot, and the first group obviously who had been practicing improved. But the second group, who had just been visualizing, improved statistically the same amount. Statistically insignificant, just by visualizing the free. So yes.
And I know some people will say, well, I can't visualize. I struggle with visualization, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to speak to it that sometimes I would get stuck in my own, my brain wanders or it goes off in another direction. First of all, I keep it only to a few minutes. I think that was Mike Julie's suggestion, 4 minutes or something. I keep it to about 4 minutes. And what I started doing when my mind starts wandering is I bring myself back and so I'm often alone when I do this. I speak the visualization out. Some people might want to write it out, but there are ways that if you do struggle with visualization, that was one way I found to kind of move myself along and stay on track with it is I would just start speaking about whatever I wanted to envision. And it was just like, oh, I can do that. Yeah. And so as I would start telling the story about it, boy, those 4 minutes just flew by. It was so easy. People,
absolutely.
I'm stuck. I can't visualize. I can't do. Yeah, you actually can. You can.
And again, back to rule number 1, if you believe you can't, you can't. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right. So it's all about what you're thinking and what you're believing. So if you believe you can't, you can't. But if you believe you can, you can. And I will say, don't make it, I say everything with grace and ease. So you're visualizing every day or 5 days a week, say, and it's a Wednesday and your mind starts wandering, you get the monkey mind. Oh, I got my to-do. I got so many things to do today. I got my podcast interview before. I got all this stuff to do. And just say, okay, this is not working for me today. I'll get to it tomorrow. And this happens to me every once in a while. I let go. I'm like, okay, it's 3 minutes in and I'm thinking about something else. Just let it go. You'll get to it tomorrow. Everything with grace. And the other thing I'd say is, yes, like recording. So I have many what I'll call guided visualizations that from books I've read, from techniques I've heard. And so you can write down and then record and then listen to a visualization of your dream house, your dream car, your dream spouse, dream vacation, dream travel around the world, whatever it is, and then record it and then listen to it. And then you'll get into, I think that's, for some people, that's easier, but really get into the details, get into the 5 senses in the visualization. If you could feel the feelings of, being in France and Paris for the Olympics, or being in Provence with the lilacs, in this, the big expanse that you have in back of you in France and Provence, walking through, and then you see the hot air balloon that's going to take you over Paris or over Munich or wherever you want to go, and then you can come down and be there or be on the ocean. You can do that and really get into all of, okay, I'm smelling this, I'm tasting this, I'm hearing the sounds of the bird chirping, and really, really getting into all the detail, record it, and then listen to that and really think about those all 5 senses.
So I'd love for you, what's one of the things that you have had, like that moment that came true that you were visualizing? What's something that you can share with us that you visualized in detail and went, oh, this is that?
So many. Let's see.
What's the funnest one? What's the just fun that you laughed at?
So Laura, I think I have a big passion for traveling. I've been to 60 countries, all 50 states and 6 continents. And so in 2017, I started visualizing going to Bangkok, seeing the Golden Palace, the Palace of Dawn, the Temple of Dawn, the Temple of Buddha. And so I started visualizing that. I put it on my vision board, and in late 2018, a buddy of mine asked me how the coaching business is doing. I said, it's not making as much as the headphone business yet. And he said, well, I think I can get you this job. You're perfect for it. And I'm like, I'm not really looking. He said, well, just interview. So 3 weeks later, I'm working in Connecticut, which is 20 minutes from me, easy commute, easy job. It wasn't any stress, and I can continue to coach. I asked as I interviewed, could I continue to coach in the lunchtime, evenings, weekends? Yeah, fine, no conflict. And so about 4 or 5 months into that job, my boss calls me. He actually is living in Europe. He calls me and he says, you've been spending a lot of time on calls with the engineers in the Philippines. I'd love for you to go meet them, and you're really passionate about this project. I want you to get them passionate about this project. So I'm like, yes. So I'm jogging that morning. I jog pretty much every day, and wait a second. How far is Bangkok from Manila? So I get home, I check it out. It's a 2.5-hour flight. Call up my boss, and I say, is there any chance I could maybe take like a long weekend, like maybe leave like noon Friday? He's like, oh yeah, fine. Come back Monday if you want. So I get to go to Bangkok, and I went online. I found this hotel so the prices in Thailand are very inexpensive. So I picked a really nice hotel, huge room, rooftop bar, rooftop pool. And I was like, this is going to be fun. I asked one of my colleagues if he wanted to come with me. He said, sure. So I booked it. And so August 5th, 2019, we're at this hotel. Friday we got in. We had a lot of, it was late, so we went right to sleep. Saturday we had a full day of touring. Saturday night we go to the rooftop bar. I'm walking around the rooftop by the pool, and it's got like a 360-degree view of the city. And I go to take this picture of the Golden Palace, and I get chills because it's the exact picture that I had gotten from the tour book that I had taken the picture from and put on my vision board and had been visualizing seeing this view. So the photographer must have been on the same rooftop to take that picture from that view.
That I got chills listening to that. I love that. Those moments are so huge, and they anchor in the belief, the absolute knowledge that this is possible. This is absolutely how we
create our life. Yeah. We create it. It's like so if you had told me when I started visualizing Bangkok and the Golden Palace and put that on my vision board, that Joel, you'll take a job in Connecticut and that will get you to Bangkok, I'd be like, what are you talking about? What? That doesn't make any sense. And yet, that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. That's why, it's so important. I leave the house out of things. When I'm doing stuff, it's like, I don't care how it happens. I hope it, as far as I know, keep me safe in the process, and let's let it happen in the way, because the universe knows, a bazillion more ways to connect me with the right situation, the right people. And it could never be in the way that I imagined. Like you just said, you just see you look back and go, I couldn't have put that together. There's no way.
And this happens in my Money Miracles membership. Members have manifested $1,992,000 in just a couple years. And almost every time when people tell me how the money came in, they're like, what? So the most recent one was this, and we teach in the Money Miracles membership, we teach different manifestation techniques. So they're using the techniques that I teach, and I tell them, look, there are 10. Don't do all of them. Everything with grace and ease. Pick one or two. Visualization is one of them, and then there's others. So most recently, this woman had to get something fixed on her car. She went to a new mechanic, and the mechanic says, you need a new carburetor. And she's like, what? Like thousands of dollars, like $3,000. So for some reason, he decided to call up the manufacturer, who actually had a recall on the carburetors in other states, but not in Oklahoma. So she gets this information. She's like, that doesn't really make sense. Could you, I know you were trying to help me, and now it doesn't look like you can, but can we do one more call and just ask them why? And is there any, discount they could give? And so he calls back up, and they say, okay, fine. So manifestation, $3,000, she had to pay zero. $3,000 manifestation. You can't make this stuff up, right? If you try to say, okay, this is how I'm going to save $3,000 or make $3,000, you'd be like, no. And that's just one example of hundreds and hundreds of stories where, don't get bogged down in the cursed house, right? No. Just, I'm going to have my dream job. I'm going to get to Bangkok. I'm going to, have my dream spouse, or I'm going to go on that dream vacation, or have that dream house in Maui. But don't say, oh, how could that possibly happen? Because The universe is conspiring on your behalf all day, every day. And it's going to put, there's 8 billion people on this planet. They're going to put the people and circumstances in place so that these things can happen. And it may not show up like, for me, I took this job in January of 2019 from my perspective to get to Bangkok, because the job itself, I worked there for a little over a year and then moved on and got some, maybe some interesting and friends and so on. But it was really for me like, oh, I took this to get to Bangkok. But
There
you
you
would,
go.
right?
And that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes it is, we do take a step or we do move in a direction that we might not understand, but it allows in the process to get us where we want to be, or to get us that one thing, like it was the trip to Bangkok for you. It might not have progressed you in something else, but it was this nice little side trip that gave you that manifestation right there. And I think what you said right there about the car is so incredibly important. And I want to mention it because oftentimes people will say, oh, well, I didn't manifest anything. I just didn't have to pay, or I got a discount, or I got something. And I've been in my space where I forget to acknowledge that too. But then I stop for a moment and when I'm kind of checking in, it's like, oh, dang, I just got that $1,000 course for free, or I just had that amazing connection with someone for free who normally charges for that. That's a manifestation of incredible and value in my life. So the value of what is happening in your life is just as important as the dollars that are showing up in your bank account. I know everybody wants the dollars too, but when you
I'm recognizing it. That's what I was about to say. So you stole my thought, Laura. So that's nice that we're connected. So recognizing is really critical. So what I do is I recommend getting a notebook, getting a manifestation notebook, and writing down in your money manifestation notebook any money manifestations. It could be savings, like we just talked about. It could be going to Bangkok. And whatever it is, I write down the pennies, the nickels, the dimes, because I say the same energy that creates that penny creates $100, creates $1,000, creates $1 million. And if you're celebrating that abundance that's available, it was interesting. I was on a call last week or the week before, and somebody said, I don't pick up pennies that are on tails.
Well, some people are superstitious.
I said, why? Well, I was taught to flip it over to heads so that somebody could find a heads up penny. I said, why don't you change that belief to the universe just provided me with a penny which could be soon $10, or like what if it gets even better than this? How could it get better than this? So say that when you get the penny, pick it up. How could it get better than this? And watch a $10 bill come through, or 1,000, or $1 million come through. How could it get better than this? Is a great way to, when you find some money or some money manifestation, how can it get better than this? And watch how the universe provides, because it's answering all day, every day. It hears you. And so being in a celebration, by the way, rule number 5 in the 9 money rules is appreciation or gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. So be grateful for that penny, even if it's on tails. The universe just provided for you. And if I have people who post in the Money Miracles membership private Facebook group, Financial Freedom Can Be Yours, dimes, quarters, dollars. I mean, finding a dollar, celebrate. Like it's energy. It's the universe providing for you. And so appreciation, being grateful for it, as opposed to saying, oh, that's not for me, that's on tails. That kind of attitude is not serving you.
No, I agree. Yeah. Because you're missing out on the things that, how many times, I mean, if you do that over your lifetime, how many pennies do you think that you're pushing away? How does that add up to? And then if you put that in savings, how much is that? How much are you missing out on just by those little tiny bits? And yeah, I used to work when I was in corporate for a long time. I worked out, traveled and was in a lot of different communities and stuff. And I will say always, there were a couple times when they were just like, I can't get that one, but I say thank you anyway. Thank you so much. that might be for the next person. And I appreciate, I would always acknowledge it if I couldn't pick it up for some reason and just feel the gratitude of it passing in my path. And so there's ways, sometimes if it's really, you can't pick it up or something, you can still be grateful that it showed up for you. And
yes, being self-aware, so critical. So what is coming up for you when not picking up that penny or not picking up? So for example, I jog every day, as I said, almost every day, and I jog by this high school and pretty much every day. And one morning there's a $5 bill on the ground in the street. And my first reaction was some kid dropped their lunch money. Maybe I should try to find them. And then my second thought was, what are you talking about? The universe just provided you with a $5 bill. Jump up and down, be so grateful.
That's awesome. I love that. I do that too. And the only reason is like sanitary reasons when I couldn't pick up a penny or something like that. But other than that, I do too. And I always send a good wish out to thank someone and hope that, it didn't cause any injury to them, or if it's something that you find even more than what you dropped or something like that. That's just kind of a little thing that every once in a while comes to mind. But most of the time it's just, oh my gosh, thank you. I've won $100 on a lottery ticket or come across $10, $20, something like that. I've come across a few dollars and I'm super excited. And you know what it does for me at that point? It brings and heightens the awareness for me, where then, because that's what our lovely mind does, our subconscious works with us and for us, it will start finding more. It will start looking for more. And when it's looking for it, it finds it. It's like the color of that car. All of a sudden now you have that car. It's that color. It's that whatever. Now you see 72 of them driving around your neighborhood. As soon as it registers that, it's going to be finding more for you. So engage with it. Engage. Right. I love that.
I would just throw this out there to anybody who's watching or listening. August is the most abundant month of the year because it's the number 8.
Yay! I'm ready for it. I'm ready. Let's do it.
And by the way, the most abundant day of the year is August 8th. So if it's not yet here, then enjoy that day. It is an abundant day.
It is. It is. Those are always wonderful. I think August is so fun. And it's a great time, actually, because what's interesting is sometimes September, when we're coming into September, just because of the way our particular world works, with going into school and kind of things going back in that direction, it's almost a giant reset time that kind of happens just before that. So I can see August really being a great time to reset yourself, reinitialize all of that stuff when you're manifesting and bringing those things in. And I know we're almost at an hour already. So I've got to, no, I don't know how that happened. I knew it was going to happen though, because I know talking to you is always so wonderful. You have so much to offer. You have so much to offer. You have a lot of free things. You have a free group that I love on Facebook. You also have do you have some free things on your website? I don't remember.
A lot of free stuff. I mean, yes. On my website, I have 19 affirmations that you can download for free. I have self-talk audio files, not individualized. When you're a client of mine, we individualize them, but you can listen to them. They're really powerful just as they are. I have a powerful affirmation that you can include your name in and individualize it. I have a weekly email.
Yeah.
In the weekly email, I have a powerful money tip. I have a powerful affirmation each week. Then I highlight a member of my network, and I also do cliff notes of the book I read that week. So I'll call them Solomore notes. Somebody corrected me last week in the Mounting Miracles membership. Why don't you call them Solomore notes? So Solomore notes of the book I read that week, each week through the year. And so I just recently read Think and Grow Rich for the 31st time. I read The Master Key System. There's a couple of recent books I read. The Cosmic Ordering System is another great book I just read.
That's a fun one, yeah. Yeah. So, I actually haven't read the whole thing yet, but I have that sitting there.
Well, Cliff Notes are coming in a few weeks for that. Solomon Notes are coming in for that. And I have a 9-week course based on this book, which is coming up October 1st again. We basically give it away. It's $99 for 9 weeks. And I do it with a meditation and yoga teacher. She channels, so it's a really fun. Each week it's a channel, and then we go through an exercise. And I have online courses. I have my Money Miracles membership, and I do one-on-one coaching as well for just a few more months. That will be ending shortly, and I'll be moving into master classes next year.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Yes. And I have to say that, so in even your free group and then going up to the one that's incredibly inexpensive, and I think everyone, it would be worth it for them to do that, the $99 one. I've been through that. And I know through the process of being in those, I have not made it into your Money Miracles group yet, but it's on my board. So, but all of those you have literally, so every time you do that course, you have people manifest stuff. I mean, you track it. There's a lot that gets manifested in those groups.
Yeah, so even in the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use course, the 9-week course, the last one we tracked, and it was over $32,000 of money manifested for I think there was only like 10 people in that course. So you pay $99 to manifest on average $3,000. That's if I could find a stock and put $100 in and get $3,000 back in 9 weeks, that I'd probably be the best investor of all time. So not a bad investment. Yeah.
No, and your Money Miracles group basically amplifies that hugely. You have huge manifestations, and I'm sure you have small ones too. I'm not negating small ones at all.
Yeah, no, small, big.
You kind of amp it up in there, and you really kind of get people into being in a place where they can receive those. They do believe that's absolutely possible, and it starts showing up in their life.
We've literally had 4 people in the Money Miracles membership manifest over $200,000.
That's awesome.
4 people. Like, just amazing. And then, so we're on average, and even if you take those 4 people out, we are averaging almost $40,000 a person.
Well, and I have to say, even in your free group, because I just saw this like last week, I think, somebody manifested, it was between $10,000 and $15,000 on stock. I mean, I was just like, what? Wow. Just clapping for him. I thought that was incredible. So it's not just.
She's actually in the Money Miracles membership.
Is she? Oh, see? Oh my goodness. And she shared it in the free group too. And
yeah.
I thought that was incredible. I was like,
no, we have, to be clear, we have members in the free group as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that you share those things in the group. Yeah. That's something that, because when you see that it's happening over and over and over and over, and people are sharing the quarters that they found, or the hundreds that they got, or the thousands, it lifts you up and keeps you in that mentality of it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. And I'm in the space and the energy that's happening in. And I think we need to recognize that. People sometimes go, they're doing it, but I can't. And it's like, no, the universe is showing you right there, is giving you the gift of the knowledge that you are in that energy also. Hang on, be in it, stay there.
Yeah. Yes, anything is possible when you believe.
It is. So I'm going to have a ton of links in the show notes for people to connect with you in all of the different places. And I cannot recommend enough, because when Joel says that you get to have a chat with him for 30 minutes for free with no strings attached, that's literally what it means. He does not pressure you into anything. He says, here's how I can help you. He talks with you to guide you in wherever you're struggling most, or if it is just a conversation about something that you're like, I'm wondering about this or that. He will offer you his time and knowledge freely. And that is such a gift. That is such a gift. So I can't encourage you enough to go and take him up on that and have a chat. And come join the groups and come join some of the classes, because you'll see a difference in your life. You'll see a difference in the way that you look at the world. So thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to share now? Anything at all? You can share a key tip, or I know that you love to share jokes. Anything.
Well, I think the most important takeaway, one of the most important takeaways, is hashtag doubt the doubts. Believe in yourself. I believe in you, and I want you to believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. So believe and have faith in your dreams. And when the doubts come up, doubt the doubt. Don't have faith in that doubt.
I love that. So important to do that. Thank you so much, Joel. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Laura. It's great to be here.
All right, Change Gang. There you go. Some amazing information for you. Some great tips. There's so much to back it all up. Go have a look, explore with Joel, and enjoy. And I hope that you have a great week and that you meet me same time next week. Ciao. I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.